Project managers have always needed to be able to negotiate. It's part of our job. We're negotiating with stakeholders. We're negotiating with our sponsor, our boss, our client. We're negotiating with suppliers and contractors and consultants. And not only has it always been a part of our role, but it is increasingly being recognised by important bodies like the PMI. The PMI has now included explicitly within its examination content outline for the PMP qualification negotiation, which will become part of the examination from January 2021. It sits within Domain 1, People, and it's Task 8, Negotiate Project Agreements. So in this video, I want to talk you through the basics of negotiation for project managers. Negotiation is a process of searching for an agreement that satisfies all parties. And there are two important parts of that definition that I want to highlight. Firstly, it's a process, which means no matter how concerned you are that you may not be able to negotiate, if you follow the process, you will get a decent result. You can't predict what that result will be, but the process will get you there. And secondly, it's a process of searching for a solution that will satisfy all parties. This means that negotiation is a process that has integrity. You're not trying to get one over on the other party. That's cheating. You're looking to satisfy all parties. So if you're worried that negotiation feels somewhat uncomfortable, you don't need to, because your goal in negotiation is to produce an agreement that everyone will find acceptable. So what is the negotiation process? The negotiation process has 5 components to it. First, there's preparation. Then there's opening the negotiation. Then at the heart, there is bargaining. Then we close the negotiation. And finally, step 5 is to follow up on the negotiation. Preparation. Going into a negotiation unprepared is setting yourself up to fail. So think about the scope for the agreement you want and what are your goals and objectives for the negotiation. What do you want to achieve? What does a good outcome look like? In fact, you need to think about 3 levels of outcome to have in your mind going into the negotiation. The first is your ideal, the best reasonable outcome you could achieve. The second is an acceptable outcome, the sort of outcome you think you might achieve that would be acceptable. And finally, there's your bottom line, the minimum outcome you're prepared to achieve. Any outcome below that minimum outcome is worse than not negotiating at all, which means you have to know what your best alternative to a negotiated outcome is, your BATNA. Without knowing what you would do if the negotiation failed, you can't define your bottom line. And remember, any negotiation below that bottom line is just a negotiation about how much you're prepared to lose. There are 2 more things that you need to build into your preparation, and the first of those is research. You need to research the context. You need to research the players, the people, the history your organisation has had with their organisation. You need to find all of the facts. Make sure you've got them assembled and in good order so that you can access them as soon as you need them. And the second thing is to think about your negotiating strategy and tactics. How are you going to move from the start of the negotiation to a close in an orderly fashion? What concessions are you prepared to make, and what concessions are you likely to ask for? What are you going to focus on first, and what are the little details that you'll wrap up the negotiation with at the end? And how will the members of your team, if you're not negotiating as an individual but working with colleagues, how will they work together to make sure that the negotiation runs smoothly and you get the best you possibly can from it? Step 2 is opening, and there are 7 things you must cover at the opening of a negotiation. And whilst the order I'm going to present them in isn't absolutely fixed, it's a good order and it's one that will often make a lot of sense. Firstly, you have to make a good impression when you first meet the other negotiators from the other side. You must make a good first impression. You must come across as well prepared and professional. Secondly, you need to build rapport with them, because negotiation is a human-to-human activity. It's harder to cheat somebody you know, and it's easier to come to a satisfactory agreement when you know somebody well. So take time over the pleasantries, over the niceties of building a relationship. Third, you need to check the authority that the other person has to make an agreement, because if they don't have full authority, then chances are you need to reserve some concessions before getting to the final agreement with them, knowing that they may refer the draft agreement up to somebody with more authority who may then ask for further concessions. Next, you need to agree the basis for the meeting. Are we negotiating the whole transaction or a part of it? Are we looking for a draft agreement or a final agreement? What is the process by which we're going to confirm the agreement? And after that, you need to think about admin and ground rules. How are we going to conduct this negotiation? What are the arrangements around timing and timeouts? What's our agenda? What's our sequence? Who's going to sit where? And then we get to the nub. The two most important parts of the opening stage are what their ideal outcome is and what your ideal outcome is. And if possible, you should get them to share their ideal outcome first. That way, if necessary, you can mould your outcome, having heard what theirs is. But both parties will want to hear the other party's outcome first. So don't get yourself into a standoff. To the extent that any negotiation usually has someone who is more in the role of a seller and someone who is more in the role of a buyer, the usual default is that the seller will lead with their outcome first. When you've opened, the next step in the negotiation is the bargaining stage. And the bargaining stage moves through a number of phases. The parties will put their positions, they will explain them, and you will exchange ideas. This will lead to a number of offers. In response to those offers will be counter offers. There will be requests and offers of concessions. Sometimes you'll get stuck, and sometimes you'll find a way to get unstuck. But the bargaining stage will end when both parties feel they are close to an agreement. It's evident that most of the matters have been discussed, and there are offers and concessions and agreements around all of the different details. Now it comes to the close stage. At the close stage, we summarise where we've got to and we check that all of the issues have been covered. If they have, we check one by one each component of the offer and all of the concessions are agreed by both parties. If it's evident that there is nothing more, or likely that there is nothing more, you can go for a trial close. If we've agreed all of this, are you ready to agree the whole package? Or, I believe we've agreed everything. On the basis of what we've just said, I'm happy to agree the package. You then make the formal offer. Are you prepared to agree this package? If, when you make your trial close, you get the wrong body language or the wrong signals, then you know you need to go back and find out what the issues are. If you get the right signals, then you can make your offer with a high degree of confidence that it's going to be accepted. And when the offer is accepted, confirm it and record the decision. At this point, there is nothing more you need to do to close the deal. Anything else you say can do nothing but poison the deal. So the only two things you must talk about after closing the deal are firstly the logistics of what comes next, what's going to be in the follow-up, and secondly pleasantries. It's been nice doing business with you. If you mention anything else from the whole sphere of the negotiation, best case is the other party will go, yes, know that. Worst case is you will introduce a new fact which will introduce doubt in their minds. So keep quiet. It's sometimes called by salespeople buying back the deal. You mention something else that you didn't mention. It turns out that that's not appealing to them. Once you've closed the deal, you must do all of your follow-up. You must do everything you committed to doing during the negotiation, and you must do it when you committed to doing it. Document the agreement, share it with both parties, share it internally with people within your organisation who need to know. As a courtesy, thank any of your colleagues who have been involved in the process, and as a courtesy, thank your counterparties as well. So there you have it, a simple 5-step process for negotiation. There's nothing mysterious, there's nothing complex about negotiation. It's the individual situations that create the complexity. But I hope now you'll feel confident to go into your next negotiation knowing what the stages are and how to manage it for a successful outcome. If you've enjoyed this video, please do give us a like. Please subscribe to our channel for loads more content and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any of it. And I'll look forward to seeing you in the next video.